Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Tomorrow we mark 250 years of glorious independence and 250 years of majestic American freedom. Nothing like it. In all the chronicles of the ages, never before has any nation celebrated so magnificent a triumph as this one, the one that we are participating in right now. At 250 years, America is the oldest republic on earth. We are the freest people on earth. We have the most righteous and enduring Constitution on earth. We are the strongest and most powerful country on earth. And by the grace of God, the United States of America is the most successful, most accomplished, most exceptional nation ever to exist in human history. And it is great to be your president.
Good morning. It's Monday. After 250 years, we celebrated a birthday. We celebrated a birthday of the Declaration of Independence. We didn't necessarily celebrate a birthday of where we were actually free. That didn't come till many years later in 1783. And if you're being specific on timing, it was actually more like 1786. You know, I put something up that I thought was, you could say Debbie Downer. You could say that it's a hard reality of what we're actually facing right now. Like where are we as a country? You know, you have fake influencers that are out there that talk out their ass. They create this kind of spinning hopium. And I really wanted to put something out there that talked about where we are holistically. We keep waiting for someone else to do the hard work for us. And here's the reality. I don't think anyone's coming to save us. I think a lot of people like to talk just to hear themselves talk. Not a whole lot of people want to put what effort is necessary into it in order to get us across the finish line. So I wrote this thing. Well, let me see if I can pull it up here. There we go. Put it up. So I wrote this thing. And, you know, this is, I couldn't put it on X. It wouldn't let me put it on X. I tried to put it on, it's conspiracy. I just put it up on Facebook. But let me read it to you. Yeah, I didn't even share it with you yet, Damon. But I mean, see if I can send it to you now. Sorry, we're trying to get through some technical difficulties a little bit. This is kind of call it the Monday Blues. Patrick's out of town. I am joined, by the way, by Greg Lopez in the studio. He's going to be talking to us about his independent run for governor of Colorado and what he saw in the election. Of course, I'm going to talk a lot about fake and fraudulent elections. I'm going to talk about how they're not real. It's fake and gay, kind of like most of the influencers that are out there that are finally getting around to stories that we were telling back in 2022, 2023. That's when you know that it has to come at its own time. Is when you have massive amounts of censorship, and then when they start talking about things, you're like, oh, that's funny. Like I was talking about that guy in 2023. We were talking about that in 2022. We were, uncovering election fraud to that degree in 2021. And now we're just getting around to it. That checks. So let me read to you really quick what I said. It's not actually really quick, but let me read it to you anyway. As we celebrate 250 years, we must remember the spirit of sacrifice and courage that led us here. We must remember our oath as Americans and the commitment to those that came before us, made unselfishly to ensure that our children and children's children had an opportunity to thrive, not just exist in our great nation. When the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station by which laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Some of you are getting that I'm reading parts of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, derived their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government should become destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate the governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind has more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms by which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies. As such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. There are those that say that change with the times. Things are different now. Yet they are not. Corruption, selfish nature, and extreme evil ideology consume our nation. Crime soars. Leaders are no longer leaders. They are slave owners and pimps. To take from us what was never theirs to take. I, in large part, suffer less. As I've worked my ass off most of my life and made sacrifices to frankly have more than most. I could, like most, stay silent and eat selfishly while my state and my country burn. I will watch as muzzles are placed, lawlessness ensues, and our communities wrecked. I could say it takes time or it's complicated, but it is not. Evil wins when good men do nothing. And now it is the time that good men, on the sunset of 250 years of our nation, do what is necessary to destroy evil, rip the systems that enslave us out, and root out our treasonous traitors and foreign infiltrators. I do not wish to sit on the sidelines. I do wish to sit on the sidelines, but I cannot. Tomorrow is the beginning of standing, because up until now, all that has truly stood has been the perversion and rot. All that has been accepted is evil in the name of tolerance. Our nation is the last place of significance, the last tree of liberty that stands, and they want to take it from us. They want to cut us down. So I will ask you the simple question, are you ready for this fight? And yet I realize that many are plainly too afraid or manipulated by circumstances to do their duty as Americans. Jesus said, sell your cloak and buy a sword. I don't care about the past transgressions of my ancestors or the twisted history told by manipulative simps and liars. I care about not watching our women and children be raped, criminals walk free, judges acting as henchmen and cartel enforcers. I care about a perversion and grooming, drugs on our streets that destroy the fiber of our communities. I care about divisions created by foreigners and white persecution because they knew how to work hard and build solid families. I care about truth over the lies told by CIA traitors who have long acted with impunity. I care about globalists and nihilistic demons who lie and steal, being destroyed and run back to the depths of darkness where they came from. I care about a government at every level filled with weak, pathetic, self-serving betrayers who were selected, not elected, by a system that was designed to make slaves, not free men. I see only one way out, and that is to fight, to learn the power we hold as people and to take back what was never theirs to take, our nation. Black, white, brown, I could care less what color you are, yet we are a Christian nation born of Christian principles. We have God-given rights, and the chokehold of these infiltrators and oppressors must end. Our fraternity of men must rise now and take back our dignity, our voice, and our country. I believe this is where we are, crossroads of historical significance, as the day 250 years ago that led to nearly a decade more of war, to set a bookend firmly that stood for 250 years. This chapter and this book is a rejection that a bookend on this end of history will be set. We reject that, and we reject the lies and liars who have used stolen elections and fraudulent means to press us into their perversion. And those who act as protectors for those liars, you are the enemy of the people, not my neighbor, and not defined by Republican, Democrat, or even independent. You're the enemy, and we will, as Americans, align behind unlikely alliances to purge our nation of your filth. Happy 250-year birthday to Americans, and only Americans who commit to our obligation to protect and serve our people, and only our people. Now the fight to save our nation begins. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. So that's what I said. And, President Trump talks about communism and that we need to battle communism and the spread of communism. Most people that are involved in communism don't even know what communism is. They couldn't pick a nation that's communist and say, that's where I want to go live. Because if they did, they should go live there. But here's President Trump talking about that, which I think is already here. Play it.
Yet as we approach this magnificent anniversary, we see our American identity under a renewed attack. A generation after we fought and won the Cold War against the menace of communism, there is now a resurgence of the communist menace in our land, including from newcomers to our country who embrace ideas totally opposed to our way of life and our great success. These are not mere political disagreements like differences over taxes or regulations. Communism is a mortal threat to American liberty. It is the greatest threat to our country, including World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, or even 9/11. We're not going to let this happen to us. Believe me, we're not letting it happen. Communism is the exact opposite of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's death, tyranny, and the pursuit of evil. The godless communist morality states that anything is justified to bring about inhuman visions and to really propose what's good. They don't want good. They don't love God, and they don't want God. They don't love religion, and they don't want religion, and they won't have it. But we will not let them win. They have no chance against us.
And to cap that off with President Trump and what he saw going on in Washington, here is the giant fireworks show, which is unbelievable. 850,000 shells. Just to put it in perspective, last year's 4th of July show was a mere 20,000. So that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It is.
How about that? 850,000 shells. It's unbelievable. But it wasn't all fun and games around the country. We had more examples of the fact that society is headed towards a lawless, almost anarchy-driven society. And it happens everywhere by these mobs that are created. And this is what it looks like, by the way, in communist countries. Go and play it. This, by the way, is a mob beating a police officer. And you can see that the police finally got it under control. There's no sound in it. I don't think there's any sound in it. I'm not hearing any sound. But they arrested these people at a July 4th deal where a mob started attacking not just police officers, but people that were there to have a 4th of July party. That leads me to kind of the thing that people are most upset with. 250 years later, President Trump's been back in office for 2 years. I truly believe that they let President Trump be elected. You say, Joe, how do you know that? Can you tell me how you know that? I can tell you right now that the elections that we've had in our country in all 50 states are fraudulent. They are selections, not elections. And how do you know that, Joe? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Statistically or otherwise, you wouldn't have a system that is a black box election system that says, hey, trust us, bro. We have the trust us, bro system where anyone can vote, don't have to have an ID. We can, 80% of the country says, let's put this to bed. We need an election system where it's on paper, hand counted at the precinct level. None of this stuff where it goes into some place where we can't see it as Americans. We should be able to see every part of the process, but you can't. You can't even tell. And with mail-in ballots, the gas to the machine, it could show up a day, 2, 3 days later. And you'd never know about it. And that's what happened in Colorado. In large part, we're dealing with stolen elections, even in primaries. They want to make sure that the image of what comes out the other end matches what they want to be the outcome. And yet nobody has an appetite for Phil Weiser. And you could say, well, Joe, he was the AG. Yeah, and he oversaw over 8 years the demise of a state, within this nation. He oversaw it. Corruption cases and a weakness that, frankly, has led to a lot of conflict against a guy like Bennett that's been around for a long time, a chosen commodity, definitely not as radical as Weiser, at least not on the surface. And no matter what happens, we never seem to get to the bottom of all the corruption. You have the Christopher Gregory case and the millions of dollars in bribes that has plagued this cartel administration of Phil Weiser and Jenna Griswold and Jared Polis. It's a cartel. That's the only thing you could call it, is a cartel. Colorado is a captured state. And just when we get to the bottom of it, we have Gavin Newsom, man. We're gonna throw the screws at him. Now, any other American would have been put in shackles already. But no, the political elite, they get away with whatever they want to get away with. But here's a post where it talks about Gavin Newsom's problem is this Alexis Podesta. The FBI convinced her to wear a wire during a corruption probe surrounding Newsom and his crooked wife. And it says that Newsom is cooked. And then on Fox News, they reported it. Let's go ahead and play it.
The California Post reports Alexis Podesta, a deeply connected California Democratic operative, wore a wire for the FBI as part of an agreement with the feds in a sweeping investigation that involves tracking phone calls and texts of many Sacramento lobbyists and consultants around the state capitol. Her attorney tells the Post she is the unindicted co-conspirator in the case of Dana Williamson, former chief of staff to Governor Gavin Newsom, who pled guilty earlier this year in a scheme to siphon money from a dormant campaign account for Javier Becerra. Becerra is now the Democrat nominee to be the Golden State's next governor. Podesta reportedly began recording conversations with Williamson in 2024, with the federal probe starting under President Biden's Justice Department. Podesta has not publicly spoken about the case. We reached out to her and her attorney and are waiting to hear back. Alexis Podesta, whose name is not well known outside of California politics, carries a lot of weight in Democratic circles. Thanks to an appointment from Governor Gavin Newsom, she sits on the board of the State Compensation Fund and is a lobbyist with a long resume, including stints with 2 governors and the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. No relation to Washington insiders John and Tony Podesta. This new information comes on the heels of Newsom announcing he believes the DOJ is investigating him and his wife.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one.
Well, how hard could it be to find one? I just want to know that. Let's start there. I was going to have Scott Bottoms on this week. Scott, by the way, just to give you an update on him, he's been in and out of the hospital. He was rushed to the hospital on July 4th. Symptoms they believe are caused by exhaustion turned out to be connected in part to dangerous high diabetic sugar levels. Spent most of the day in the hospital, but thankfully his levels are beginning to come down. So Scott ran for governor, and I was just talking to Greg about the outcome of the Republican primary. And just to give you a little bit of a background on Greg, Greg was a former U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. House member, representative in the U.S. House. He represented the Colorado's 4th congressional district. In 2026, he is a candidate for Colorado governor. So he's been in the Air Force. He was the mayor of Parker. I have known Greg for many years, and he is a solid business owner. He actually ran he was a director for the Small Business Administration in Colorado. And he's done quite a bit. And his political career is not done. He is now the independent candidate for governor. And it looks like he's going to be going up against paper tiger Victor Marx, a guy that, frankly, they selected to go against Weiser. So, Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Joe.
So you and I have had many conversations about this. I told you before you even came on that the election, the Republican primary, we both reached out to Barbara Kirkmeyer, that you have a guy that raised money but spent most of that money on consultants and fed himself with people around him.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he wins in the 13th hour.
Yep.
So how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm like everybody else, right? I was watching it from the bleachers because I wasn't part of the primary as an independent candidate. But it is interesting that when you look at the character of Victor Marx, the Secretary of State has already notified him that he owes back to the donors about $120,000. And to your point, his burn rate on the money he raised was well over 90%. And so you have to ask yourself, if he's spending money that quickly in the campaign, imagine if he was governor of the state of Colorado, how quickly he would burn through the taxpayers' money. So it's very interesting to see how the results came about, not only on the Republican side, but also on the Democrat side. I have a lot of friends that, are Democrats, and they're shaking their heads with the results of what happened on their side of the aisle.
Yeah, nobody believes it. And this is why I talk about stolen elections. And I'm so, it's not difficult to see, because Democrats are not stupid people. They're not stupid people. You guys listen to me. Most Democrats are not dumb. They're not dumb. Am I wrong?
Mm-mm.
They're not dumb. They're
not.
They're very smart. And so I walked around asking Democrats, who's your choice? I only had one out of at least 100 that I asked that said Weiser. And he said, well, Joe, you're the anomaly. And I go, well, what makes me an anomaly? What makes me an anomaly? I think that the people, I keep in mind, they had a poll, they had these polls that had them winning 54 to 45%. And what was it? It was 54 to 45.
Yep.
So now the polls are great again. Now the polls are right on par. I run a data company. I'm really good at data.
Mm-hmm.
I had Weiser losing by 8 points. Look, you say what you want about Bennett, but he's a middle-of-the-road, milquetoast Democrat. He's not going to stir things up. He's not going to. He doesn't really have a whole lot of courage. I mean, neither one of them do, but.
Yep.
But he's also not a part of the tribe. This cartel, I should say. Let me just redo it. Cartel government that's existed. Right? He was in Washington, still serving as a sitting senator. Greg, the elections are so fraudulent that right when I saw the first thing came out, it was 48% to 35%. to 19.9%.
Yep.
That's what it was when it first came out. That was with 15% of the precincts counted.
Well, let me tell you, Joe, as you know, in order for me to get onto the ballot, I have to gather signatures, and we're going to be turning in on Thursday over 12,000 signatures. But I personally went out and talked to people and gathered signatures.
Okay.
And I would talk to Democrats, and they would sign the petition.
Now, who did they say on their side?
Well, they were like, we don't like any of these guys, man. And I will tell you, people that, to your point, I think I must have spoken to maybe 600 people. And I think 4 told me, I know who I'm voting for. I'm voting for Phil Weiser. Everyone else is like, I'm signing it. You're running as an independent? I'm signing it. I no longer trust our parties. I no longer trust our government. And you know what? If you want to get onto the ballot, because again, all they knew was, look, you're helping me get onto the ballot in November. It doesn't mean you're going to vote for me. It just allows me to have my name on the ballot. And everyone said, you have a right to be on the ballot. I'm going to sign this. But predominantly the frustration in the eyes of the people that I talk to, you can hear in their voices, it's like, why aren't they talking about us?
How many signatures do you have to have per area?
So total of 8,000, 1,000 for each one of the 8 congressional districts.
Okay. And you have 12,000.
Yeah. Again, right?
Yeah.
We have to always make sure we have more than what is needed.
50% more is a lot. It's a lot. I know the guys that you're using, they self-verify everything to make sure that everything gets across the finish line too. So I think that's one of the reasons why Victor Marx had to pull back on his signatures not to have to be on the ballot or not to have to go through the assembly.
And what was interesting, right? If and I know a lot of people don't follow the political calendar the way you and I probably do, but he, as soon as he knew he was going to be nominated through the state assembly, he notified the Secretary of State's office to pull his petitions.
Yeah, but remember, look, everything has this cloud of suspicion around it. What was the overvote at the assembly?
Again, I was watching.
It's 80.
80?
80, it had an overvote
right.
of 80. If you take the 80 from Marx, does he have 30% and qualify for the ballot?
I don't think he does.
He's at 20, it's just under 29%. So we have these conspiracies, and these are things you can't prove, right? But to have 80 overvotes, 80, not 79, 80 overvotes. And that means 80 people voted twice, 80 people, they just came out of nowhere, 80. And it happens to be that 80, if you took it away from Marx, would have put him as ineligible to be on the ballot for the primary. Right?
Yeah.
And he was so sure he was going to win. He was so sure. And then you have the people that are close to Marx that said, don't you believe in the power of prayer? Okay, so the last 90% or 10% that came in the last hour, what was the spread for Victor Marx?
What was it? Like 0.06?
He pulled 79% of the ballots that came in.
Oh, they came in after. Okay.
79%. Do the math on that for me, sir. Do the math on that for me. I have a friend that was doing counting, and that remains anonymous. They kept it very tight, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the Secretary of State wanted to make sure that nobody got to see anything until they said it was okay. And he is now up 0.4%.
I think so. No. Have they declared it yet? They haven't.
They have not declared it yet. They have not declared it yet. But how do you have a guy that was behind 13 points? There's the law of large numbers. Now, if anybody wants to know what the law of large numbers are, it's a simple formula that when you come out of the gate, it levels out to a certain point of where that is, and then it deviates a little bit.
Right.
If you were to look at the votes as they came in, it goes up here like this, and then moves slowly towards guess who?
Yep.
It's a fixed system. It's rigged. So let me ask you a question, Greg.
Yeah.
I have not shied away from the stolen election since day one, right?
Yep.
And you get on X.
Yep.
And you've seen some of the stuff, the skiff and that is putting out there by the researcher. Does it give you pause as a previous? Because I'm going to ask you about your platform.
Right.
So I want everybody to pay attention to that. By the way, if you're in Colorado and you don't pass this around, we don't have to have a Republican or a Democrat. If the choice is we got to stand on Team Evil, and I got Team Evil Marks or Team Evil Weiser, I picked Greg Lopez. I told him, and I tell you, I said, if Marks wins, I'm stumping for you.
Yep.
I'm going to go to Aurora. I'm going to go to Denver. I'm going to get zeros and ones to vote for you. I'm going to go everywhere, and I'm going to make sure that you win, right? And you guys get mad at me all you want. Are you going for an independent? You're not going for an R. He's not an R. He's not an R. You have a manufactured election in order to get. But as you look at this, does it give you pause looking at the election systems we have, knowing that there is absolutely no checks and balances and no accountability in the system?
You know, Joe, you mentioned it in your opening dialogue. You know, our system, when we went to the polls and stood in line and we voted physically,
Yeah,
they were never flawed.
no.
We never had questions about whether the election was, true or not true. It wasn't until someone decided somewhere that we need to do mail ballots here in Colorado. So I will tell you that I think the people of the state are frustrated and they're fatigued with the whole mail ballot system. When you only have 35% of the voters participating.
But you don't even know because the
That's
envelopes,
true.
look, the ballots are put in separate envelopes, right? They can tell Republican tickets and Republican
That's
and
true.
Democrat tickets,
That's true.
right? And they go to a central counting environment.
Yeah.
So you have central counting that happens, right? In was it 25 counties? 20? What's a central county? It's not all of the counties.
No,
but
it's pretty much in the urban corridor, right?
Okay, so you have centralized counting. Only a certain number of people are allowed to see it. Ballots come in from everywhere at all hours of the night. They had new ballots that came in at 7:00 in the morning. Where'd they come from?
Yeah, I mean it's not
Right?
like you're driving hundreds of miles to deliver these ballots, right?
And they called it for the Democrats on every ticket except for the governor's race of Colorado.
Mhm.
And nobody, by the way, other than Scott Bottoms, who spent 2 years on the campaign trail,
Mhm.
there was no enthusiasm for Barb Kirkmeyer. There was less enthusiasm for Victor Marks than there was for Barb. Way less. And yet Scott Bottoms gets 20%. I had him roughly at 40 to 43%. And so he underperformed all the data that exists in the state of Colorado by 20%. And guess what they got?
Yep.
40%.
Yep.
And it was a split 40. It was a split between 40-40. So you had literally 50-50 if you look at it from Kirkmeyer to,
That's true.
right?
Yep.
Which means it's nothing but a fixed election. Again, everything's always 50-50.
To your point, human nature doesn't necessarily lead you to believe that an election is going to be that close from
All
the
the time.
percent. Right. But there is an occasion. I'm one of those examples. That when I ran for mayor in Parker, I won by 29 votes. Now, it wasn't a huge ballot because there wasn't a lot of people living in Parker at the time.
Right.
But you know what? It was hand counted. It wasn't a time where people stood in line. And again, no one challenged or questioned because everybody had faith in the process.
Yeah, so this leads me down the path of if we can't, we know it's stolen. Like everyone I talk to, Democrats, Republicans, are all saying the same thing. Our elections are fraudulent. They're fraudulent. They're all saying it. Joe, it doesn't matter. You said 35% voted because the other 70% or 65% were like, why vote?
I heard that a lot. I heard that a lot.
People feel like they're in a place where it's kabuki theater.
Yep.
Smart people. And nobody has an appetite for the Phil Weiser type of environment. That's retarded. And most people, Democrats included, are not retarded. They're just not.
No, they're not.
Greg, you have you've been in politics for a long time. I told you before what I cared about.
Right.
In fact, when you ran for governor in 2022,
Mhm.
I said these are some of the things that you need to.
Yep. The educational deserts, the food deserts, the minority community.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that represents over 50% of Colorado now.
That's true. Sure does.
So how do we solve that problem? Let's look at this. Let's for once in our lives take off the R, take off the D, take off the I. Let's talk about the betrayal of the people. How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to deal with a government that's so gluttonous that it takes everything from the people of Colorado, including tripling property tax, making them a slave to the state government?
Look, one of the things, Joe, that I think people have lost trust in, right, is elected officials that truly understand that their job is to represent their constituents, to actually represent them, which means you need to be talking to them. You need to be out there visiting with them and having a conversation. The good thing about running as an independent, and by the way, as you know, I chose the hardest path by which to become governor of the state of Colorado because I don't have a quote unquote machine behind me, which is fine by me. Because you know what?
You got Joe behind you.
Because I do represent now the majority party.
Yes.
The majority party in Colorado is the independent voter.
Yeah.
And the minorities are now the major parties. And so I am stepping forward for the voice of the people. And one of the things that I'll be able to do is work with those that are doing the right thing for the state of Colorado and work against those that are doing the wrong things for the state of Colorado. But I always tell people, Joe, look, the governor has two powers of influence, two spheres of influence. One is, of course, he is the executive of the state government. So he's got the power of the executive branch. But he also has the power of influence.
Yes.
To be able to go out in the community and talk about what's going on in the Capitol. Look, if there's a representative that is, for example, wanting to legalize prostitution, I would go into their district, have a town hall meeting in that district, and invite them so that we can have a little debate as to why is this good for the state of Colorado?
Well, I think if you had town halls every day, which I would.
Yeah.
Remember what I said when I'm now starting to figure out, by the way, that every election is fixed. Like every outcome is that they're going to manipulate in some way, right? I put my big boy pants on just the last couple months. I learned something. I got spanked by proxies. It's unbelievable. Never even heard of it before. I didn't know what proxies were. Proxies where you just like load up, votes on volunteers.
Right.
They had 35 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They had 35 volunteers in the back, 39 actually, if you take the full count. That they weren't even a part of the GOP.
Right.
They were volunteers. They got voluntold to show up and they had to vote for certain people. Come on, man.
Hey, look.
The elections are they're garbage. I would hold town halls, and this is one of the things I committed as a state chair. I was like, I will go into the community, I will sit down, and I will wreck it, Ralph.
Yep.
And I think you should wreck it, Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should go to, you should go into the deepest part of Denver, Aurora. Man,
Look, Joe, I've been
to talk to the illegals, the ones that vote, talk to them.
Look, I've been to Park Hill. I've been in Gloveville.
Yeah.
I've been to those communities, right? And I feel comfortable. They embrace me because, you know what? They know that I care about them. I'm bilingual. And so I have no fear in going to any community and just having a conversation. And so to your point, this is what I talk about as an independent is I will be the voice of the people because we've lost that. And you've said it. You know what? Right now, everybody feels betrayed. Everybody feels that.
Everybody.
Yeah. Nobody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Even the communists feel betrayed.
It's like, what about us? I heard Democrats say, why are our candidates, all they want to talk about is President Trump? What about me? What about my family? What about my kids? What about my cost of living? And so This is why I think Colorado is going to lead in electing an independent candidate. You know, I remind people, Joe, I got the highest ranking title of all candidates. As a former congressman, it's a lot higher than a former attorney general.
Right.
And it's a lot higher than a minister.
But the former attorney general beat out a sitting U.S. senator.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense. I mean, everyone I talked to said, I don't really like Bennett. I don't like Weiser, but Bennett's the best, lesser of two evils. He at least didn't go to Washington and wreck it Ralph.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
He didn't go there and try to push communist ideologies. And most Democrats are not communists. Most Democrats are hardworking, blue-collar, white-collar people. They're just good people.
Look, what
I just said it. You guys can get mad at me for saying Democrats are good people. Look, let me tell you, my neighbor's a Democrat, right? Right? And I call him a libtard. I'm like, what's up, bro? How you doing, libtard? And he laughs at me and calls me Republican. And I was like, okay, I'll take that. But we sit down and we'll have a bourbon and talk about things.
Look, and that's just it, right? Politics today, it's about the worldview, right? And you have two sides that they want to see the world work under their view of what they believe the world should look like. And now the voters are like, I don't like any of those views. Can we just have someone that's willing to sit down at the table, have a conversation, solve the problems, and worry about us, worry about the water, worry about wolves, worry about daycare costs.
Did you say wolves?
Wolves.
I got zero interest in wolves. Just shoot them all. I got the answer to the wolf problem in Colorado. Just shoot them. Just farmers out there, shoot them. One of you guys has to have a backhoe. Just put them in the ground and cover them up. Solved.
Yeah, so
I solved that problem. See?
Yeah, there you go. See, by having a conversation. But you know, this is where the frustration comes in. You know, and so I think people are really tired. And then to your point, Joe, they have predominantly given up on voting because they don't see or hear someone that they truly feel can connect with them and come and visit with them. You know, I had people sign my petition because wait a minute, you're the candidate? It's like, yeah, I'm the candidate. They're like, you know what? Give me the clipboard. To have a candidate actually come out here and talk to us and ask to be on the ballot, that is not something that we've ever experienced before. To your point, I think what they were telling me is, you know what? People get selected. They don't get elected. And here you're out here asking for our support.
And that's the greatest thing that I've learned so far as I start having conversations with people is that nobody believes the elections aren't fraudulent. None. Like I'm sitting, I was at the coffee shop. Somebody walks up and is like, hey, Joe. And I was like, what's up? He goes, I don't believe all the things that you believe, but I believe elections are stolen. And I was like, so how can you not believe all the other things I believe? And we just had a great conversation. We sat down and talked for 30 minutes. And at the end of it, he goes, well, maybe I believe more than your stuff. But then that makes you a Democrat. I was like, no. That makes you smart.
But to your point, Joe,
yeah,
people want to have a conversation. You know, they're sick and tired of people calling each other names and saying, oh, you know, you're wearing the R brand, you're wearing the D brand. You know, I can't talk to you. It's like, wait a minute. We are all people and we're brothers and sisters. For us not to be able to sit down and have a conversation and at least hear each other out, because maybe, just maybe, you might have a good idea on how we can move forward. There used to be a time in America where it was okay to disagree. There was no harm in disagreeing.
I agree.
You know, because that's what made us able to think more clearly and also evaluate how the other opinion is being formed. And more importantly, you had to defend your opinion.
I agree.
You couldn't just say, well, you know, call people names. You had to defend your position. And we need to get back to respecting each other. Not necessarily that we agree 100%, but let's just respect each other.
Well, what do we do about the dog whistles? Homophobe, Islamophobe, anti-Semite. I mean, I've been called them all, man. I even have merit badges. I have like all the badges. I have all the badges.
Well, look, you know what? I treat people like people. Look, with my ethnicity, I've felt some of the harshness of society.
You're Japanese, right? You're Japanese guy that speaks Spanish.
That's right. So
he knows how to use chopsticks, everyone. He knows how to choose chopsticks.
I'm the fastest chopsticker in 10 seconds.
So this is why Greg and I can have conversations. We can talk about it all, right? But he's got an El Camino outside with airbags on it, so he can go there. This is a true story. I mean, he's just like, he's our guy. He's our guy.
So I think at the end, Colorado deserves better. Colorado can do better. The quality of life needs to be improved for everybody across the state. And as governor, that's my goal, is to put people over politics, do no harm, and do what works. But we must listen to everybody that is wanting to have a voice.
People feel like they're invisible.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, that's been like the scariest part about all of this, is that they get online and they see all these people that talk about, the fight that we talked about, or President Trump's comments, and it's not going. It hasn't. We haven't gotten what we wanted, right? We didn't get what we voted for yet. But at some point, it's got to be about people.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be about the people.
Yeah. And I'm going to be that candidate that you'll see me at King Soopers. You'll see me at, at the coffee shop unannounced. And I'm not going to be having 20 people around me or dogs with me, because people see that and they're like, well, they may want to be the voice of the people, but you can't get close to them.
Yeah, so he'll be at the pierogi section, embracing his Polish roots in King Soopers. Somebody asked if you were Japanese. I said, he says he speaks Spanish. It's okay. I know it's hard. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you, but I was being funny. I've never seen anybody that didn't like him. But anyway, he is Spanish.
Yes,
okay?
I'm bilingual.
He's bilingual.
There you go.
That's the only thing bi about him. Just so you know, he's been married to his wife for a long time.
38 years.
Yeah. Just a few years. He's
Yeah.
been around a few years. Talk to me about how we can clean out the government. I mean, obviously, our budgets in the last 8 years have, in Colorado, and by the way, this is not uncommon in most states, but in the last 8 years, we had a budget that ballooned by almost 400%.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do we knock back 300 to the 400%, get to a place where we can have a little relief as people?
Well, Joe, one of the problems that I see with the budget process is their approach. They do what they call baseline budgeting.
Yeah.
They don't do zero-based budgeting. So what that means is every year,
Forecast.
they only want to talk about the new money. They don't want to talk about what we spent last year or 2 years ago. They don't want to know whether that program is actually doing what we thought it was going to do or not. And so it just keeps adding to the debt, right? And then you had a governor that, yes, there was the federal government said, hey, look, because of COVID, we're going to give you some money to help the counties and help the cities with their sales tax. And then we had a governor that said, I'm not giving it to you. I'm keeping it, and I'm going to use it for the state. And so using one-time revenue streams for ongoing expenses
And for ongoing budgets. I mean, they basically added it to their budget. If it was Christmas, they would get it every year.
Exactly. I mean,
It opened the door.
Any small business would collapse, and it's collapsing. But the only thing that's holding it up is that they keep raising our taxes. They keep doing some things to make sure that more income comes in. To your point, look, I come from humble beginnings. A dollar means a lot to me. I don't look at a dollar as if it's nothing, And when people say, well, you know what? Yeah, but you're only going to save 500 million or you're only going to save 500,000. It's like, you go out to the streets and you tell somebody that you don't want to save 500,000 because it's nothing. The people will say, wait a minute, that's a lot of money.
Well, and we haven't gotten anything in return for those dollars, right? So we talk about the healthcare deficit that we have in Colorado, the fact that companies are forced to give illegals the equivalent of Medicaid, Medicare in the state. And we look at the budgets of entitlements, over 40% of the budget is entitlement. So how are you going to deal with the entitlement issue that we have?
Well, listen to this. My lieutenant governor, so I'm the only one that was required by state statute to select my lieutenant governor.
Should have been.
You were running. and her name is Terlin Romero.
And she's amazing.
She is.
Yes.
And
I like her.
She's been in the healthcare industry for 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, she's going to be overseeing all the issues with healthcare here in Colorado because she knows where to look. And she's focused on making sure we're providing services to those in need. Those are actually that need the services that we're supposed to have in our safety net. So look, Colorado's in a crisis everywhere you look. I've had to make hard decisions when I was the mayor of Parker. I had to make hard decisions when I was the head of SBA as it pertains to the federal government. I've been in the beast of government. I know how the bureaucracy works. I also know that a lot of bureaucrats, they're not interested in doing the right thing. They're just interested in enforcing new regulations. And small business is being strangled by government overreach. And so rolling all that back, it's going to take time, but we're going to do it. And the way it starts is by true leadership. It starts from the top. When I start looking at my own budget as the governor and start looking at other budgets that I do have the authority to evaluate, to the dollar, I'm going to present to the Joint Budget Committee a zero-based budget. And when they say we're not going to take that, I'm going to let the people know, hey, here's the budget I submitted, and here's the budget they want to approve.
But why is there so much conflict between what the people need and what they want, what they're articulating they need at the community level, and where the budgets actually go? Because if you look at holistically how the budgets are allocated,
Mm-hmm.
the decisions are made and the people are not even considered,
right,
in how those budgets are created.
Well, look, you've been to the public hearings at the legislative.
Yeah.
Do they listen to you?
No.
Okay.
No. And look, I wreck it, Ralph, every time I go there. I show up and I'm like, you're a prick. You're an idiot. You're to see you next Tuesday. I mean, I walk down the line so much so that they're like, oh, we got to make sure we keep Oltmann out of the seat.
But even regular people that go up there and spend hours to do the 2-minute presentation that they're allowed, people will walk away from their chair. They're eating. They're on their phone.
Right.
They're not listening.
Right.
And again, that's why it's so discombobulated. It's because no one is caring to listen to the voice of the people.
Okay. Let's hypothetically say we get to a place where I mean, look, I think you have a shot. I think that if I actually go on the campaign trail, you have a shot. Sorry, but I think that as I talk to more people in the community, because I went to the art festival.
Yeah, I was there.
I was at Denver Art Festival. And my wife is like, yeah, you want to go to the Cherry Creek Art Festival? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So I put on my gun. I make sure that I'm ready to go. I'm thinking to myself, So my wife walks over, she starts looking at stuff. I walk over and I got the this is an art festival.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of Democrats there. How the heck you know who I am? But it was interesting because as you have conversations with people in that community, this is the largest in the country, by the way. The art festival here in Cherry Creek is the largest in the country. I think there was like 600 tents or something. Anyway, great art. I got to buy a few things. It was pretty nice. But as we sit there and we walk through this process, there is an opportunity for you. There's an appetite for you to win.
There's
right?
Yeah.
So let's hypothetically get you to the table because Mord says, that it's going to take away from the Republicans. We need someone that abandons Wreck-It Ralph, abandons everything and says, we are only going to take care of the people, right?
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
And if you do that and say, yeah, I don't really care about the Democrats, Republicans, it's almost as if you shun both parties.
Yep.
That would be the strategy. But if I get out there, we start talking about this stuff, man, you got to be willing. You got to listen to the people. Like they're tired of losing.
They are. Look, to your point, last night I was at City Park because they have a jazz concert. It was great. Okay.
Yeah.
But I talked to a lot of people, right? And again, they are looking for someone that at least is wanting to be out there with them in their own environment, not trying to push an issue on them or trying to convince them, but just asking them the question.
Yeah.
Here's a question I ask everybody when I talk to them. If I was the governor today, what would you want me to know about our state? What would you tell me about our state? And I hear the same thing. It's like, can you please listen to us? Can you please have people understand that the rules they're playing, the laws that they're passing, they're hurting us. I can't.
Businesses are leaving at record levels. I mean, the big businesses, top 100, 25 of the top 100 businesses and employers in the state of Colorado are currently in the process of leaving the state.
Yeah. And people are like, what about daycare? My daycare for my little one, it's costing me $1,400 a month, and that's per child. And so to your point, right? People need to understand, elected officials need to understand that, every decision that we make, every decision, every law that you pass, is going to impact a family. It's going to impact a small business. We must make decisions with visionary glasses.
$800 cash back is not enough. They wrecked Tabor. Now they're saying they're going to keep that money.
Yep.
Are you going to give that money back to the people?
Oh, yeah. My goal is to give as much money back to the people as possible. I will tell you, looking at other states, Arizona has more population than we do, and their state budget is half of ours. Ask yourself, right? Why is that?
Are you going to federalize? Use his best word to use. Are you going to federalize the tolling system in Colorado and get rid of toll roads?
You know what? I'm going to buy E470 and get rid of the tolls so that people can use E470 and to get to the other side of the city.
Why is that so important? Why do you think that's so important to me?
I think because you want to feel that, we paid for these roads already. It's not like they was a private person.
What about the poor people? What about the single moms? Let's talk about the lowest 50% of the people in Colorado are poor.
Yes.
And do you know the amount of money currently that E470 has in collections?
I do not.
It's over $400 million.
Doesn't surprise me.
And do you know who holds the majority of that debt?
It's probably the poor.
The poor.
Yeah.
Because you have a single mom. And this is the part about coming from nothing.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why make it more difficult? Why would you say that only the guy that drives a
Alexis
gets to go home early?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
When the single mom's most precious thing that they have is time.
Yep.
And so they have to sit in long lines because the roads aren't open.
Right.
And the tollways between Colorado Springs and Denver,
mm-hmm.
if you want to pay an extra $5 for 40 miles, you can.
Yep.
But other than that, you got to stay over here while all the people go past you.
Look, it is wrong for single moms and dads for them to take 2 hours to get home to their family, 2 hours to make dinner, 2 hours to help their children with their homework, or just spend time with their family. They're stuck in traffic, and it just takes one person to do something that they shouldn't have done. And all of a sudden the traffic gets backed up forever. So yes, congestion is an issue. Joe, we haven't built a brand new road here in Colorado for over 40 years, a brand new road. All we do is widen roads.
Right.
But before you widen it, guess what you got to do? You got to narrow it. Why do you have to narrow it? To create a safety zone for the construction guys, right? And then...
Well, where the hell are we going to build an extra road? I mean, I'm all for you, but I'm looking around like nobody wants to be out in Sterling, Colorado, except for the people in Sterling.
But here's the deal. But every metropolitan city, right? We need to evaluate this. Has a loop system. Denver doesn't have a loop system.
We do. It's an E470.
But it doesn't go all the way around. It stops in Golden. There is no connection from Boulder.
Well, 6th Avenue.
Well,
you take 6th.
Yeah. But it's not a loop, right?
Yeah.
And this is where...
And it's a 2-lane loop, by the way, just so you know. If they were to make it 4 or 5 lanes, but the only thing that they've added... And look, our budgets for the roads have gone up dramatically over the last 8 years, almost 5x or 6x, and we've not done any sort of improvements.
No.
But we did build a bridge to nowhere for Antelope.
Yes.
We built one of those.
Well, yeah, because it's important, right? But look, Colorado's in a crisis. Everywhere I look, Joe, everywhere I look, I can't think of a single area that I would say Colorado's doing well in.
Right.
And so we have to ask ourselves, is this really the path that we want to see Colorado in the next 4 years? Or do we want to really start shifting it and making it a state that we can all be proud of? Look, Phil Weiser is going to be one of those governors, should he win, is like, meet the new boss worse than the old boss.
Well, I almost feel as if Polis was a useful idiot. He did the biddings of whoever told him above him, and there is someone above him. There is someone that he was taking all of his cues, social cues from.
It was Newsom.
Was it though? I mean, he let Tina Peters out, right?
Yeah, there they go. I mean,
I almost feel like he's actually feeling like it's just it's a bridge too far.
Right.
Yep. He finally has woke up to this, and I don't know. Maybe they say that God can reach into the heart of any man, right?
It's true.
So maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but I have a lot of angst towards someone as corrupt and as disgustingly evil, team evil, as Weiser becoming governor.
Well, you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there that are just shaking their heads on the Democrat side, independent side, all across the spectrum. They're just shaking their heads like, what does this mean for our state?
Well, I don't know. Well, Greg, I tell you what I'm going to do. I mean, I want to see you write out all the things you're going to get done. I want to see your town hall deal.
Yep.
You do have your 12,000 that put in? 12,000 signatures?
Yes.
So when do they verify that so that I can say you're on?
Well, I got to turn them in on Thursday. I would say that it would take them maybe 2 weeks, if not faster. It's all up to the Secretary of State's office.
I have so much confidence in the Secretary of State of Colorado. Let me tell you. I'd see you next Tuesday. See, I'm trying to actually cuss less too, by the way.
I noticed that.
Well. Yeah,
I noticed that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
breathe, Joe. Just breathe.
Woosah. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I will stump for you. I will do everything I can to. How do people actually donate to you?
Go to greglopez.co. greglopez.co. That's our website. Donate. Really doesn't matter whether you want to do $5 or $500 or the max.
It does matter. Max it out.
Well, max it out to $2,900 because it's important for us to be able to get the message out there. Ultimately, people are thirsting for someone that is actually going to speak on their behalf, and that's why I decided to run as an independent.
Yeah, I'm not that crazy about the blue on your site. I think I think I should rewrite your site.
Different color scheme. Well, maybe that was supposed to be purple. I don't know.
It's purple. It is supposed to be purple. And what he's trying to say is, listen, Colorado is, you just want opportunity. Yep. It's in the Declaration of Independence.
Yep.
We didn't have Democrats or Republicans then. We had Whigs. We had all sorts of other stuff. And the reality is that the party system has left the people far behind.
Yeah, it has. Right. Look, President George Washington told us in his farewell address, be careful if you decide to have political factions, because at some point it is going to divide the nation. It is going to create animosity. And here we are.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm pretty excited about being excited about not being excited about the fact that it's not going to be Marx. No matter what, it's not going to be Marx. And you'd say, well, Joe, is it better to be Weiser than Marx? It is never good for it to be Weiser, but it is worse to have Marx. Sorry, I said the quiet part out loud. And Greg, by the way, has the experience, and he's pulled no punches. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, he has pulled no punches, 0 punches when it comes to making sure that he supports and stands up for the people in his community. Mm-hmm. He did it in 2020 with me. He did it in 2021. He got a little quiet, 2021, a little bit, and he went and ran for governor. But there's you have my support.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about just messed up world that we live in. It's messed up. The whole thing's messed up. Everything's messed up. And we're going to talk about these things right here. You see these? You see what those are?
Freedom flakes.
Those are freedom flakes. You know what? I
I might just we're gonna talk about Freedom Flakes, which, by the way, this supports all of the armed forces, special forces. This is a veteran organization that it supports. And so we'll be talking a little bit about Freedom Flakes. You can go to freedomflakes.com and buy some boxes. And we'll hold on to that because I'll tell you a little bit more about this after the break. We're going to commercial break. When we come back, we're just going to talk about a bunch of stuff having to do with, this thing 250 years old, that's still running. Not as smoothly as we'd like, but still running. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
All right, so Freedom Flakes. You go to freedomflakes.com and pick it up. I was actually talking to Ty and Todd, and Todd runs an air show down in Miami. He has cancer, pancreatic cancer. He's been battling it for quite some time. And I got on the phone with him today, and I said, how can I help you with this Freedom Flakes project? Now, I haven't had them yet, so I probably should eat them before I tell you more about it, but a large portion benefits Folds of Honor. And so that's making sure that we have funerals and we honor our veterans in their, who said bunch of crap? Hold on. It was ridiculous when I go to vote. Machines got screwed, ridiculous. Oh, yeah. I agree with you, Warrior Gal. I agree with you. So, yeah, go to Freedom Flakes, check them out, buy a box, tell me what you think of it, and then we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do with Freedom Flakes. I want to talk about, if we can, just a little bit, the landscape. Yeah, please. Sorry, we're listening to everybody in the hallway. The landscape that we have. And man, I tell you what, I wake up in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Normally I wake up around 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning. But I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning, and this is what came to me. They're retarded. But it's not just the left. And we have a large portion of people that say that they're representative of us, that they're on our side. We've been slandered. These are people that are almost untouchable. But they allow for it. They're the ones that stand at the door saying, no, I'm not going to let anybody in. I'm not going to let anybody in. Oh. And then they push the door in. They come in like, oh, I tried. There are people that have talked about how we need to wait and sit back and let's wait till see what President Trump does. Because if you look at what President Trump did in his first month and a half in office in 2025, he wrecked it. I mean, at that pace, it was going to be a completely different country in a year. But there was this thing that slowed him down. And the slowing down of President Trump, I think, had more to do with our side. And I went back and looked at 2017, 2018, the midterm elections, we had the House, we had the Senate, and we had the presidency in 2016. And I believe the appetite for the American people is not swayed. It's not like the ocean. We're not bipolar. We just are seeking someone that is not going to betray us. But every time we turn around, there's just more betrayal. Interest rates are at an all-time high, so businesses can't recover for what happened during the Biden administration. They just can't. You look at taxes and the increase in taxes and the retirement of certain incentives that gave businesses the ability to compete. They can't compete. And at the same time, there's a large portion of Americans that are now, they're unhireable. You say, why? Well, we have this AI that came in, and let me be honest with you about this. It affected my company. It affected my company. We had a certain number of coders that we had. We instituted AI, and we laid off about 35% of the coders and changed the job of the other coders that stayed on the team that have been with us for a long time. And I was having conversations with some of them, and they go, we like coding. And I was like, I like competitive edges and profitability. And the ones that we took off the team were not unlike others that got taken off the team, 30,000 or so from Oracle, that were coders, developers, front end, back end. And they said, Joe, we like coding, but I don't want to use AI because it's going to replace me. And I was like, well, I'm going to replace you if you don't use AI. and it became this kind of running joke that you're now becoming engineers. So that the world is shifting in a way that I think is pretty scary. And the reason why it's pretty scary is because no one knows what it looks like coming out the other end. Are we going to have robots, or is AI going to run things? Is it going to make the jobs of most people inside of tech or aerospace, or is it going to make them obsolete? It can do the math faster. I sat and sent all the results, by the way, of the Colorado election through AI, and it came back and said those are improbable results. That's impossible. The rule of large numbers makes what you just said impossible. That across the board, the last 10% or 12% of the votes would heavily favor one candidate over another. That's a fixed election. That's by AI standards. But we've got some things that are happening in our community that we have trouble looking at and going, man, something is wrong. Now I'm going to talk to you about something super weird. What if, man, this is a hard thing to say because I'm working the problem with you. Okay, this is going to be a weird conversation. There was a for those of you that don't know, the CERN machine. Remember the CERN machine? The collider. It's going to be it's a collider deal that's shutting down. Now, I normally don't get involved in stuff that is just out there. But when I woke up this morning, I couldn't get it out of my brain that we're being set up. I couldn't get it out of my brain. The math part of me, the part of me that is freakishly good at weird stuff, could not get this stuff out of my brain of, oh my gosh, my head hurts. What if it's just a setup? I firmly believe we're living in a world we're already in communism. And I go, there's something weird happened in 2020. People did not just lose their mind overnight. It wasn't like the media could just flip a switch and all of a sudden people went crazy. And I had more conversations with people in 2018 and 17 and 19, and most people were not crazy people. They just weren't. 2020 just did so. It changed, it shifted things. And then we discover what's been happening in the schools, and we discover what's been happening with this grooming, indoctrination. We had transgenderism basically took off. It became like the new TikTok PlayStation. I don't even know. I don't even know what you're going to call it. But I started doing this studying, and I brought this up before, about CERN. And I don't know if you guys know what CERN is, if this is new to you. But they have this thing called the CERN Collider. We have globalists on one side, we have infiltrators in the middle, and then we have conservatives on the other side. And for those of you that don't know, if you're a Democrat and you're watching this, there's globalists are team evil. They're the people that are creating this endemic environment we have across the world. That's somewhere along the line that you can defy science and that you can make up statistics and you can manipulate things in the sky and put in chemtrails and do all the stuff that they're doing in order to change weather patterns so that you can justify the fact that we have global warming and the world's changing and the sky is falling. Chaos. And chaos favors the op, never favors the people. And you could talk about the fact that shock jock Alex Jones constantly gets out there and talks about what's going to happen next. And the guy has been right. I mean, it's like a clock being right twice a day, a broken clock being right twice a day. This dude has like a broken clock 12 hours a day. He's constantly right about things. And he doesn't care if he takes shots at people. And people get upset with him and try to take sides and say, I'm not listening to Alex Jones anymore. But the guy's right. And when I had Kyle Seraphin on here, people are like, if you listen to Kyle Seraphin, then I can't follow you. I can't get down with that. And I go, okay, then don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Get out. Because I'm not going to have a conversation with people that tell me who I can talk to, who I can't talk to. And it's infected our brains. Like I got people in my company that are left. They're lefties. I have other people in my company that are on the right, far right. I mean, way further than I am. And then there's this group of people that are just really sensible in the middle. That's the vast majority of our population. The CERN Collider, if you remember when it came online, and I'm not a conspiracy, man, this is crazy. Yes, the CERN in Switzerland. When I was a kid, I want to see it in the comments. Was it Looney Tunes, Tunes, or was it Looney Tunes, Toons? Remember the Looney Tunes? Do you remember that? How about Fruit Loops? I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. Because there's this Mandela effect. Remember when Nelson Mandela died? Do you remember the circumstances around that? Do you remember how some people remember it totally different? And if you were to ask them, they would remember it different collectively together? There's a young man that actually explained this. The kid was, it's crazy. And look, I don't want to talk about the craziness of people that have solved their own murder in a previous, there's like all sorts of crazy stuff. And I believe that this phenomenon just relates back to the fact that I think the veil has been lifted. I think God's probably doing some crazy things right now. And I believe we're in the end times, but not the end times the way we think the end times exist. And you can look at the Bible and the visions of people like, how they predicted robots and how, I'm studying this guy that is a pastor, and frankly, I'm gonna want to show you some of the stuff that he had, but it's pretty crazy actually, the whole idea of what he represents. And I've been posting like crazy about him, and I'm gonna get him on so that we can have a conversation with him. But he's a pastor out of Georgia. And how does it relate to this? Let me play this video for you quickly. Let's play this video about the CERN Collider, and then we'll have a conversation about this young man who popped up and then kind of disappeared. So, what? Okay, let's go through the post first. Can we do that? Okay, so the CERN officially went dark, and now people are questioning reality. CERN is officially shut down in the Large Hadron Collider until 2030. It's just going to take 40 years to increase the distance. And one of the internet's strangest theories is suddenly back. This theory, by the way, has been around for a couple of years. It started when the colliders first started basically splitting atoms. It's a bizarre phenomenon that millions of people remember things differently than they're supposedly recorded. I'm telling you right now, this is true. I just said Looney Tunes. And I don't know if anybody answer that. No, nobody answered it. Most people say it's faulty memory. Others believe it's something else. What if those memories aren't wrong? What if reality changed? Years ago, a viral theory claimed CERN's particle collider experiments may have somehow shifted humanity into a neighboring timeline where small details are different. Sounds insane, but millions of people still debate the Mandela effect to this day. Now CERN is offline and preparing an upgraded collider that scientists say will be far more powerful than before. And that's why the theory is back, because if people have already believed reality has changed once, what do they think happens when the machine comes back online even stronger? Do you think the Mandela effect is just bad memory or evidence that something happened to reality itself? Guys, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I understand fully, other than the fact that there's been massive number of times that I've had to go back and check my own math of things that happened in the past, including times that I've spent overseas. And I'm like, this is what happened. Like, I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. Like, I saw a specific tragedy that I wasn't even supposed to be there for. I'm there. I'm watching it. I get back. I read the reports about it. It's completely different. Now, sometimes this happens when you're in the middle of a tragedy. You can see things differently. It's true, you'll see things differently because you're in it. You only remember certain events. But I remember having this conversation. I sent an email and we went back and forth with a friend who saw it the same way I did. But it wasn't a year later that it was completely different. So I want to play this for you if I can. This is, are we ready? Okay, let's go ahead and play.
CERN is shut down, and it just got creepier. I'm sure by now you've heard they're stopping all the LHC experiments for 4 years. This sounds like a good thing, right? Unfortunately, there's way more to this story. I'm sure most of you have experienced the Mandela effect.
Okay, I'm going to 100% prove and explain to you how the Mandela effect works and why we've all experienced this and why it's so shocking. So look at this. You remember Pikachu? Didn't he have that black spot on his tail? Nope. Go try to find a picture of him with a black spot on his tail. There's no black spot. Looney Tunes, wasn't it Tunes with 2 O's? Nope. It's apparently always been Tunes. Chick-fil-A? You thought that it was Chick, C-H-I-C. Nope. C-H-I-C-K. Fruit of the Loom, wasn't there a cornucopia? Nope. Okay, why are we all collectively remembering this wrongly?
Well, almost 10 years ago, a kid named Max tried to explain this strange phenomenon.
This is our original timeline, right? But as soon as this starts, we are infinitely catapulted into an infinite number of parallel universes. And somewhere infinity down the line, here's our universe, right? And then we're constantly shifting into alternate universes as we speak. And that expansion of infinite universes is our reality as we know it in time. So therefore, if there are other universes, they're next to ours. And this actually relates to my theory of the Mandela effect and how the particle accelerator altered the weight of one electron and therefore destroyed our universe and shifted us into the universe that's directly next to it, and therefore things are different in this universe.
So you believe that this thing that some people call the Mandela effect is actually real?
Oh, it's absolutely real.
Can you describe what it is for people who have never heard it before?
Sure. So the Mandela effect is the effect of some people thought that Nelson Mandela died at a certain time, and other people remember it as a different time. And this goes for a lot of other things, Star Wars, classic videos, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Everybody knows that. Well, if you actually look back to the original film, it's not Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. It's Magic Mirror on the Wall. And some people actually...
Which, of course, it's not.
It's not,
in
right.
the reality I grew up in.
Right, exactly. And, I mean, some people in this reality I guess, maybe didn't make it from our last reality, I'm thinking. I'm still trying to figure out why they don't remember it.
Here's the thing. Max's explanation went viral. Even scientific magazines started discussing it. The kid was considered a genius. But then, all of a sudden, he vanished. No more posts on his social media, and even the original video got removed. Now, according to online sources, he hasn't vanished, but clearly something happened. Did he get too close to the truth? What happens when CERN starts experimenting with its new collider, which is 10 times more powerful?
We're replacing about 1.2 kilometers of the 27-kilometer ring with the high luminosity LHC magnets. This will give us a machine that's 10 times brighter than the Large Hadron Collider, 10 times more data. So it really is an opportunity to explore the universe in a way we haven't done before.
Why is every world-changing technology coming in 2030?
It will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface.
Wow.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
And one of the important statements we've, I think, made at our most recent developers conference is that we believe that one of the big advantages of augmented reality is actually solving problems here on Earth. And it will be things like having glasses and being able to translate as you speak with glasses. And those are very close.
Holograms will be very, very high quality in the era of 6G. I've already seen 5G based hologram demonstrations. They already work, but then with the next generation technology, I mean, we could be having this meeting so that in reality we would be sitting in different parts of the world.
And should we be scared about the CERN logo or the fact that they were caught worshiping a god of destruction?
Okay, so are you a little weirded out by it? And it's not a conspiracy. Why would a collider, why would CERN shut down for 4 years? World Economic Forum. And again, I want to go back and just and talk about just how weird it's gotten. Has it gotten weird for you guys as well? They let criminals out on the street. I mean, people arrested 20, 30, 40 times. It goes in and stabs someone on a bus. Has it gotten weird? Criminals get let on the street. People like Tina Peters get 9.5 years. Judges, you question what they do. And here's something else that we need to talk about. The Supreme Court we thought was off limits. The Supreme Court at least was the court of reason. But we look at the last 4 or so decisions by the Supreme Court, now you're left to wonder, what is going on here? Then it comes out that they're actually meeting with Democrat Secretary of States before they actually make a ruling. How is that a thing? How is interpreting the law dictated by having conversations with Democrat Secretary of States? And I'm talking about Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts. Look, I'm not sitting here telling you that this is the way it is. I'm telling you that if I look back over the last 6 years, how many of you feel like it's been normal? Or how many feel that there's something just not right? And during that same time frame, we don't just have Democrats that are telling us weird shit. We got people like Mitch McConnell that literally are walking corpse, that can't answer a question and they're acting like it's normal. Or Joe Biden. They're trying to convince you that he has all of his faculties when he can't answer questions or figure out where to get off stage. And entire media outlets gaslight you on that. Or let's talk about the election fraud. You got Skiff and the researcher and Peter Berninger and all of these people, myself, Mark Cook, the reports that came out of Maricopa County. They're all damning And yet the left are sitting there saying nothing to see here. I don't know what you're talking about. The American people, 80% of them are like, look, pass the SAVE Act. And we're still here having a conversation, yanking our puds over whether or not we should actually institute IDs and get rid of mail-in ballots. And the fact that we're just now starting to talk about things that I was talking about 4 years ago. Or the fact that President Trump himself, in 2024, they had to make a decision. President Trump was always going to win 2024 because they had to take that chess piece off the table. No matter where we look, things have been weird over the last 6 years. Nothing is normal. And the more we start to look at this Mandela effect, the more we start thinking to ourselves, something's got to give. Now, the other side is if what I'm saying is untrue, and that this psyop, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't favor the retarded or the ridiculous, then why are we cutting little kids' penises off and letting schools do what they're doing and acting like it's no big deal? I mean, it's a huge deal. And parents aren't saying anything. They're not doing anything. They're either not seeing the news at all, which is not uncommon, but then they go in a place like Colorado and they elect Victor Marx, a guy that literally has had more negative publicity over the last 6 months than I think anything that's ever been said about Donald Trump in the last 12 years. And questions about who he is, but that's the guy that beats out 50-50-20, just so you know. 40% for Barb Kirkmeyer, 40% for Victor Marx, and 20% for Scott Bottom. The chances of having a 50-50-20 is nearly impossible. And by the way, that's straight from AI. What are the probabilities of this happening? Yeah, we got it with Spamberger. We got it with, I mean, you name it, we've actually gotten these elections, which are always the same. Fixed elections across the board. And I have to ask you, maybe there's something to this collider thing. Maybe this is the Mandela effect. I always remembered it Looney Tunes. Toons. Always. I never remembered it TUNES. I don't know about the Pikachu deal because I never watched it. But can anybody tell me that the last 6 years has been normal? It hasn't been normal. It's been the opposite of normal. Gammy says Twilight Zone, upside down world. Isn't that what we're in right now? It's an upside down world. I remember years ago talking about this collider. I was talking about it with Max and walking through the idea that maybe it feels different. I mean, am I the only one that feels this way? And last night I had to just say, listen, when you focus on and you allow for entire media outlets to create dog whistles, organizations to put scarlet letters on people, I mean, is there something to this? Is this a demonic, like somebody opened up another sphere and we just have demons that are consuming people? Well, it certainly would explain the mental health crisis we have. But then you also have to look at the fact that you have psychotropic drugs that have been filling the heads of people in this country for a long time, around the world. And is it just that we're having more of an opportunity for people to do bad things, that we have more crime? Is it because we have more people in the world? I don't know. But what I do know is that as I look over the last 6 years and I look at the rise of AI, and I was doing AI long before it was cool. I was right in the middle of it. I bring myself to that same place and go, maybe there's something to this. Maybe the CERN collider, like, what is it for? What is it for? Yeah, is everything off limits or is nothing off limits? Because I open up X and it's like, and it's all this stuff about election fraud, and it's all this stuff about corruption and Gavin Newsom and Spamberger and Dominion voting systems and Liberty Vote and elections in multiple states. And I go, it's in the bag. Like we got them. And then nothing happens. Or the FBI or the police say it's complicated, and it's not complicated. It's a bunch of retards running around. We're run by weak, retarded, stupid people. And that means that someone above that is actually pulling the strings. And then smart people who lack courage end up going into law enforcement and working for these organizations, and they just want to collect a paycheck. So it's hard to look at it and go, well, here we go. I don't know. All I know is this. If it's not the collider, and if it's not, why is everyone focused on the 2030? I remember being overseas 2008, 2009, 2010, and it was the 2030 project. It's always been the 2030 project. And I would go back and I would read about it, and I was like, this is just strange. And now as we get closer to 2030, I feel like it's a definitive time that in 4 years, we're all but screwed. President Trump is talking about things, and he's, trying to say that we should have, we should fight against communism. Is it a clock to 2030 where we just destroy everyone? And yes, Nana says this. So why was the Biden administration investigating Newsom? I mean, think about that. That started under the Biden administration. But was it the Biden administration, or what President Trump say is true? I was the 45th, 46th, and 47th president. You know what I mean? Oh, I'll share it with you. I'm actually going to do more. I'm going to do an entire show. I'd like to see your prompt on the AI antidote. I will show it to you. I will show it to you. I just believe that we have more questions than we have answers. And now Tucker Carlson's a bad guy. The guy was on the air for decades. In the decades that he was on the air, he was a truth teller. I mean, everybody loved Tucker Carlson. Now he walks away from the Republican Party, and people are basically lambasting him. And all the social platforms have taken away his reach. How about Candace Owens? Now all of a sudden she's bad because she's talking about Charlie Kirk and the fact that this guy didn't shoot him with a what was it called? 30-06. There's no way. Yeah, Charlie Kirk was not shot with a 30-06. It just did not happen. Like, it did not happen. Just so we're clear. And this is not, no click farming anything, no, none of that stuff. Let me just be really clear. It is not everything in our life today is not an impossibility that finally comes true. That elections can go the way that they are. That Charlie Kirk could be shot with a 30-06 from 230 yards and a 17-foot drop, and that it has no exit. It miraculously hits the back of his spine and stops. It's not possible. And more importantly, Candace Owens just digs. And I'm not saying she gets it right all the time, because I don't think she does. But why is it that when they get out there and they ask questions, everyone then wants to shut them up? And now they're the terrible people. Now Candace Owens is terrible, and Tucker Carlson's terrible. All the people that are telling the truth that woke up, now they're all terrible. How's that possible? Now, we do have some terribles. We have a bunch of terribles on the Republican side. A bunch. In Colorado specifically, and around the country, a bunch. Mitch McConnell's a sellout. Mike Johnson, man, it's a complicated guy. A little midget that says that he wants to do the right thing, but he's not. John Thune. Look at that guy. Can't pass the SAVE Act. Can't get 60 people to stand up for the American people. 82% of the American people said we want the SAVE Act. We can't get it passed because it's all about their interest, not our interest. Nothing makes sense anymore. It just doesn't make sense. And every time we turn around, the goalposts keep moving. It is 1,000% kabuki theater. Candace Owens is batshit bonkers. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, let's talk about that. What is she batshit? What is she batshit crazy over? Is it Macron, his wife, being a man? Is that what she's batshit crazy over? I mean, I am curious, Chris. And I'm not telling you that she's not batshit crazy. I'm saying she does not appear to be batshit crazy. And if she does, she hides it really, really well, which wouldn't surprise me. Because again, are we running an op on one side or are we running it on the other? We can't figure out, it's making us all bipolar, who is it that we're supposed to trust? Like when the moral authority becomes Alex Jones, we're going to have to stop for a minute. And he's a good dude. But I get out there and I watch, Harris, and I watch Harris Jr., and I watch Owen Schreier, and I watch these guys, and I'll pick up some of their videos and I'll walk through it, and they'll be talking about, and they'll use the wrong vernacular or something, and you'll have people that eviscerate them for it. And then I start looking at where we are collectively as a country and around the world, and I have trouble figuring out who's who. I got to pick a side. Am I a Tucker guy? I'm a Tucker guy. I'm a Tucker boy all day long, twice on Sunday. I didn't just wake up in 2020 and decide that I was going to just wreck my life. And they've said horrible things about me. And I'm not a Boy Scout, but you got people that talk that shit about me all the time. Oh, Joe's crazy. Oh, you just need to go see someone. I'm probably the most sane person you're ever going to meet. True story. Normal, sane person. And I look at Tucker Carlson, and he's been married a long time. I've been married a long time. My wife and I don't agree on that. I have a beautiful extended family. How am I batshit crazy? And I have to ask myself I have to do a neck-up checkup all the time. Okay, she stirs the pot with no evidence, just questions, but tried to look for the actual evidence, and it's all innuendo and suspicion. Chris, it's suspicious. I mean, let's be honest. It's suspicious. How Kurt, his wife, responded was weird. It was odd. Now, I've defended her because I'm like, okay, it's okay to be odd. It's okay to be odd when you lose your husband in such a violent way. But I mean, it's just a lot of weird stuff. And maybe it's the CERN collider, is all I'm saying. I mean, can we at least say it might be the CERN collider? That way I feel good about myself. Maybe we'll say it's the CERN collider. I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's got to be something. And I was going to do this second half of the show where I walk through all of this conspiracy stuff, and I couldn't do it. I was like, I'm not doing it. I am not going to sit here and talk to you about the UFOs, but it's a lot. Like the JFK files. Why can't we have it? Why can't we have it? Why'd the CIA go into Tulsi Gabbard's office, DNI, Director of National Intelligence, and take all the boxes that had to do with election fraud? We went into a country and we took a guy out who was the leader of that country while people were eating ice cream. We used weapons that basically made people start bleeding out of every orifice. Nobody talks about it anymore. It's not even just the JFK files. How about the Epstein files? Well, we got to make... It's like somebody's up there just like pushing buttons and saying, all right, the American people are fucking retarded. Let's just mess with them at this point. Chris, you said, I agree things aren't right. That's not evidence. Truth comes with real evidence, is all I'm saying. Okay, let me be the arbiter of reality for every single one of you. And this is why I said the left meets the right, and they're conditioning you not to think for yourself. They're conditioning you this way. Here's why. Ready? You don't have any proof. You don't have any evidence. Show me the evidence the elections were stolen. I'm going to tell you right now, I have. And Macron's wife could have done one thing. She was ordered to take a DNA test. She could have taken a DNA test that would have proven she's not a man. She refused. Sorry. And Trump defends Macron's wife. That doesn't mean he's right. It doesn't mean that Candace Owens is right either. What I'm saying is, can we stop looking at all of this stuff? Please don't say I think. Well, I didn't say you didn't think for yourself. See, now don't. Oh my gosh, are you serious, Chris? You've seen the evidence of the elections. I went back and watched the stuff related to Candace Owens and some of the stuff they said about Charlie Kirk's wife. I don't know why I can't remember her name. Oh, Erica Kirk. I should. It's my wife's name. But I don't want to believe anything. I don't want to believe that she's bad or she's good. I want to believe that she's given us good information. Because what is the alternative? What would be her motive? See, this is where it gets really scary for all of you. What would be the motive of Candace Owens to give us bad information? What would be the motive? And what if she's right? And what if that the world was run by rainbows and retards? Well, it is, but let's hypothetically say that unicorns and rainbows. But what's the alternative? I mean, are we really not going to be based on everything that happened over the last 6 years? No, Chris, your election issue does have real evidence. It's every day. I live it every day. We just had another real election fraud situation that happened. But let me get back to what woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay. They've always got a play. They've always got a play. And if you go back in time and you look at it, it's a group that basically wants to maintain power that always has a play. When it gets too far to where the people are favored and they have to peel it back, they have to find a way to do that. They do it through tragedy or they do it through devices of control. Now let's look at the elections. In Alaska, you have ranked choice voting. What do you have happening? You have Peter Thiel here in Colorado that's saying, hey, look, Thiel in Colorado, I want to, is it Thiel or, Ken Theory, sorry, that wants to bring in ranked choice voting. Why would you want to change the system for ranked choice voting? Because it's an avenue of control and it creates chaos. The entire system is designed for them to have an escape valve. And that's what I was just telling Greg. I finally figured out what proxies were for the state race. I lost by the number of proxies, 140 or 50 proxies that they brought with them around the necks of volunteers. Never seen it before in my life. Didn't even know that was a thing. It's like harvesting mail-in ballots. It's identical. And of the people that didn't show up for that race, a vast majority of them weren't even given the right information or credentials to even show up. I'm just saying that if we have a system that's designed to always have an out, the hanging Chad, we're going to put everything is, there's controversy around everything. Everything. Is Obama a citizen? Was he born in Kenya? He says he was, then he says he wasn't. Was Biden in his own right mind? Nobody thinks so. He couldn't, he literally can't finish a sentence, falls off a bike. Stares at the back of everything that would show you that it's not real. And yet in the middle of all of this, Candace on the Sean Ryan show was 4 hours and 44 minutes of really insightful conversation. Fortunately, it was not all about Charlie. Very little, in fact. It's a true story. I'm going to tell you that if you think you know, you don't. All right, I'm going to give you a hard fact here. They're using the Mandela effect to convince people the elections are not stolen. America first. One voice, 2016. True. I believe that. They are slowing people down. Here's what I'm going to tell you. There's a place called Darfur. You know what that is? I'm going to use something I know for a fact. I know for a fact that there was zero ethnic cleansing and zero genocide that existed in Darfur. Zero. Go check your math. It'll show you that it's going to say that there was genocide, ethnic cleansing, and led to the Hague indictments at the criminal court, the ICC. It wasn't true. It's fake. Made up by Susan Rice because President al-Bashir wouldn't take advice. I've said this before. I've said it several times. In the middle of all of this stuff that's happening over in Africa and the Middle East, there's a man named Jeffrey Sachs, Millennium Project, Columbia University, CIA stooge. And there's so many CIA stooges, it's crazy. Some of them are influencers. Some of them just came out of intelligence and just happened to grow to 4 or 5 million people. Untouchables. People that maintained the status quo, kept their cool, but frankly never accomplished a damn thing in their lives. And I'm kind of like the Lone Ranger in all this. I come in, built a company that worked really hard the last 30 years. Really hard. Have some crazy shit to show for it. But there is a ton there. If you think you know, you don't. That goes for Candace too. Okay, I'll take that. Heard. I'll take that. I can accept that, Chris. I can accept that. I don't know. What I'm trying to tell you guys to do is that every single time if the system is fixed, it's not fixed 1% of the time, 10% of the time, it's fixed 100% of the time. And we got to find ways to basically take pieces off the chess table. We got to stop playing checkers. We got to stop waiting for President Trump. We got to stop waiting for them to tell us that the elections are free and fair. We got to stop accepting what they said, and we got to start doing. That's my point. And my point is that whether it's a CERN collider or what have you, and whether there is a Mandela effect or there isn't, we have to find a way to fight against it. Anyway, that's my point. I'm gonna put all my jelly beans behind Greg Lopez, the independent candidate, because I will not put it behind Victor Mark. I will not. Serious claims require serious evidence. The problem is that most of that evidence is behind a black box. So then we have to find a way to get into that black box. All right. Well, I've disturbed you enough, gave you an hour of conspiracy talking about the CERN collider and all the other stuff that's happening. I have breaking news for you right now. Breaking news. Eric Coomer and his attorneys, by the way, that case was moved to January of this year. Eric Coomer, the guy that went famously and said, don't worry about it, Trump's not going to win. I made effing sure of it. The one that was on the call happened to be that he was on the call with a guy like me who's a system architect, built some pretty cool stuff, understands election systems, and said, okay, let me see if they can actually steal elections over at Dominion voting systems. Turns out they not only can they, but they did. Okay, set that all aside for a minute. Eric Coomer is also famously the one that went and testified before a grand jury in Georgia that led to President Trump being tried or charged, indicted for a crime, famously in Georgia. Now, keep in mind, this is on the heels of everything else that Eric Coomer has said and done. His attorneys have been complicit. They have a joint defense agreement with Dominion Voting Systems. That joint defense agreement gave him access to all the information that Dominion had to divulge in the Patrick Byrne case and the Mike Lindell case. And it's not good for Eric Coomer. It's not good. So I went and started talking about all the things that culminated around Eric Coomer, the guy that wrote about, dead presidents and doing bad things to the American people. And he's a Satanist with a Church of Satan tattoo on his arm. All sorts of stuff. I mean, the guy's literally like the candidate for not being a Boy Scout. Being a pretty disgusting human being, frankly. Ran into a building, almost killed someone driving away, lied about that over and over and over again. But his lawyers knew he knew. Well, in a strange turn of events to weaponize our judiciary, which I think's rotted to the core, we got put in front of a judge for a temporary restraining order. Temporary restraining order. That means they wanted to make it so that I couldn't speak about all the things that I knew. There's a TPO. It included anyone that worked for the law firm employed by Coomer, all the lawyers, Eric Coomer, And so I ended up spending a crap ton of money defending myself because they didn't like the fact that I said mean things about those traitors and the fact that, frankly, they're going to go to prison. I still believe they're going to go to prison. I know they're going to go. I know for a fact Eric Coomer is not going to make it out of this without some serious, serious consequences. But beyond that, they went into a temporary restraining order, got up on the stand, and they lied some more, lied about me. And they just can't help themselves but to lie. They lie when the truth is better. So, the temporary restraining order, though, temporary protective order, was thrown out. We won. More importantly, for the first time ever in the last 6 years, my attorneys have been able to articulate to the other counsels of the people that are getting sued with me that Joe has told the truth through the entire thing. And here, by the way, is all the lies of Eric Coomer and Dominion Voting Systems. And they finally woke up and was like, oh, crap. Joe was telling the truth. Of course I was. Of course I was. But see, in their world, they want to just measure risk. And then all of a sudden, someone woke up and said, yeah, that guy Joe doesn't play. So anyway, I just want you to know that I won the temporary restraining order. There's no temporary restraining order or full restraining order, which was what they were going for. And I had to sit in a room for 12 hours, a trial, and spend, $10,000 on legal fees to defend myself from a made-up narrative by Eric Coomer and his lawyers. More from the liar brigade, the Charlie Canes. People are going to remember these people's names. They're going to remember them around the country, and it's not going to be for something noble or good. It's going to be for the disgusting people that they are and the really bad things that they've done to our country in betraying our nation and hiding the information that they had full access to. All right. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Make sure you go over there, give us a 5-star review. If you're on any number of the deals, we are having a good time over on X. I do want to, some of the new stuff we've been able to put up there. It's good to see you guys over on X. Also, we are on Roku. We're on all the big platforms now, as well as the site untamednation.com. We got some cool stuff to talk to you about in the future. I'm not going to talk to you about Charlie Kirk's killer, Tyler Robinson. I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't believe that kid did it. He certainly does not hold himself as a kid that did it. He didn't jump off the building with that gun in his pants either. And it wasn't a 30-06 that killed Charlie Kirk. Sorry, it's just not. All right. So we pray it out. I'm going to pray it out at the very end of the show. Father God, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for Greg coming on the show. Thank you for President Trump and the work that he's done. Thank you for the many people that are in his administration in our country that are actively fighting against all of this tyranny that we have in our nation. Help us, Father, that we may never become the very thing that we're fighting against, and we may stand up for the values that you've instilled in us since day one. Help us that we may stand for each other, set aside their petty differences, take the Republican, the Democrat, the Independent, set it aside, and build on our community the values that are important for us to be successful and to bless the next generation coming behind us. We ask for these things, Father, humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. We will see you guys later. I got some great guests for tomorrow. We got Ash this week. We have a pastor this week. I think Lorenzo is tomorrow. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy day tomorrow and crazy this week. And then we've got some other pretty amazing people that are going to be on. So anyway, God bless you guys. Have a great night. And remember, you're who is going to make us win. Like you are the difference maker. So get in the gap. See you later.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the nights. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Tame nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong.